I mean, specific to Howell, he showed some good. And I think if anybody disputes that, they're lying. But he also showed enough bad. And I think the enemy deserves some blame. I think the offensive line deserves some blame. I think there are a lot of moving parts in the blame game for Sam Howell's overall performance. But I think the center of it is Howell. I think the stuff we were worried about, the turnovers and the high sack totals, continued to be a problem. And even when he wasn't getting sacked or turning it over, quarterbacks bailing on clean pockets because they have that like mental fatigue of getting hit too much, that just scares me. And I don't know you're getting past that. So for me, especially with if they were in the same draft range where they've been for so long, if they were drafting 14th or 17th or 15th or 19th, maybe you do run it back with Howell and you try to fix the O line. You try these things. But at number two, like we just watched this happen where they didn't pick a quarterback at number two. And I don't know what Tua is. I think I know what Herbert is. I know they're both better than anything Washington's had. Like I just you can't not go quarterback again at number two twice in 4 years. I just you got to constantly be aiming to get better at the quarterback position, and I think Washington's got to do it. So I don't think Sam's the answer. Maybe there's some awkwardness of could he be the backup? Maybe you can flip him. Like I saw a New York radio dude was saying that the Jets should trade for Howell to be Rodgers' backup. A scenario I thought would be kind of interesting is the Saints, who still owe a ton of money to Derek Carr. Like maybe they want a backup that they feel like maybe they could groom. I don't know, but I don't think Howell's the answer.
I don't think Hal's the answer right now. Who knows long term? I'm not really on board with trading him either because you're going to get a fifth or a sixth or a seventh as the return for him, which is, basically inconsequential for the most part.
Where you got him.
Right, that's where you got him, but I think he's a better player than that level. I think he has the potential to be a better player than that level. I think what we saw last year, a lot of bad interceptions, aside from the sack total, which you talked about, a lot of those interceptions were, hardcore quarterback no-nos, late over the middle, trying to make a bigger play than one that's there. And I think that, it got worse as the season went on, as opposed to getting better. And so I want Howell on this roster. I want him around this team. And, maybe he's a guy like who was the Flynn, the quarterback in Green Bay, who
Flynn.
Flynn, right, who the Seahawks paid big money to. Maybe there's at the 2-3 years down the road, there's a trade scenario where there's enough intrigue about Sam, that they're able to go do something with him. But for right now, I want him as the backup quarterback on this team. And I think you only get to pick high in the draft so often. You look at 2012, you look at 2012, they traded up to get there, but they were drafting pretty high anyway. And
not
then
two.
No, not two. Then you look at obviously Chase, and you only have an opportunity to get these players so often, and to have an opportunity to pick your superstar quarterback is the move that you got to make. I mean, it's with this team being where they are, they're not quite ready to win today, right now, this season. Otherwise, then maybe a guy like, Kirk Cousins might make sense. Baker Mayfield did an incredible job in Tampa last year. Maybe it's a place where Jacoby Brissett gets an opportunity to potentially be a starter if this team's a little bit closer and you're trying to just have a short bridge.
I hear you there. I also applaud your fan fiction about Sam Howell turning into a Matt Flynn trade or whatever that was. Like, you don't have that much years of control with him. Here's the problem with keeping Howell as your backup, right? We know, because all parties said it, Ron wouldn't trade him because of it, that having Brissett was extremely valuable for Howell. Are you going to draft a kid at number two and then not bring in a veteran backup? Whatever you're doing at number two becomes far important than whatever happened with Howell. And to correctly do a quarterback at number two, I think you need a veteran in that quarterback room. And I think that room looks way different than it did, but I still think you might need a guy on the field.
To me, that's exactly why last year you needed a guy like Jacoby Brissett there, because you had Eric Bieniemy, who was taking full control of the offense for the first time in his career. Zavita Pritchard was a young guy coming in. There wasn't this layering of quarterback coaches and guys who have helped develop quarterbacks along the way. So I think that was somewhere where you needed a veteran presence. Here you talked about, Cliff Kingsbury, Brian Johnson, Anthony Lynn has been an OC. You have 5 different guys in this offensive room who were either former NFL quarterbacks, offensive coordinators, or both, and have helped develop quarterbacks along the way. And so this might be a situation where you can have a young quarterback room because you have so much experience across the board in the coaching staff. And to me, I think Hal can still become a valuable player to have on your roster. And I think that there's a scenario where I'd be okay with
number 2 pick and Howell.
Two young guys, and then you have a third stringer that's your practice squad, emergency QB on game days.